Right. Hi, I'm Kyle Keldsen with C12, and I'm here with Michelle Drolet of Towerwall Security. Hello, Michelle.
Hey, how are you?
Shockingly well. Thanks for asking. So we're here to talk about a few things, but most specifically, you have an event coming up on May 22nd that I want to get people jazzed up about. Tell us about this event and what's the purpose and goal of the event.
So, the Cyber Summit is an outreach on just giving great information back to the community, but also to share what MassBay Community College does for the community as well.
Tell me more about what MassBay Community College is doing in cybersecurity.
Sure. So, about 14 years ago, they started their cybersecurity associate's degree. And so they have produced some amazing cyber professionals.
Excellent, excellent. And tell me about the target audience for this event. Is it just cybersecurity professionals?
So it's anybody that owns a business that is in a director or above position in cyber, in IT, just in general.
Okay, so it's for the cybersecurity professional, but also business owners and people who are uh, kind of interacting with security elements in their positions, whatever that might be.
Live, breathe, talk, walk, cyber,
Okay,
and everybody else needs to as well because the bad guys are really bad.
absolutely. You can never be too careful. So, what makes this event particularly unique or different from other events in cybersecurity?
So, one thing that we're really proud of, and it's an outlier of the event, is that all proceeds that are left over from the event are donated back for scholarships. So, over the past 14 years, we've donated almost $90,000.
That's amazing, Michelle. $90,000 to help Mass Bay Community College continue to advance their program and get more graduates out into the marketplace.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's tremendous. Okay. Anything else that you can think of that makes this event unique or different from some other cybersecurity conferences that might be happening?
It's very focused, again, and very topical on things that are happening to organizations today that they need to pay attention to. So we have panels on AI, we have panels on different compliance and regulatory compliance. So it's very topical on what organizations need to pay attention to today. And they're experts in the field that are on these panels. Our keynote is going to be Kelly Haydu, who is the CISO for Car Gurus. So she's going to be talking about data classification and what that means and data discovery. So again, it's just really uh,
Practical.
rich in information.
Okay, great. So not just theoretical or sort of study of cybersecurity, but people will come and they'll be able to take action items back to their organizations. Either if they're professional, they'll be able to implement some things maybe or get some partnerships in place. And then if they're not, then they'll be able to go back and talk to their team and say, hey, perhaps we should engage some of the vendors that you might have at the event or Towerwall directly and be able to get some solutions in place to solve these critical problems.
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent, excellent. What are the key elements you want attendees to take away? We just talked about, it's supposed to be practical, but what are the key takeaways when they leave the conference?
We always look for those golden nuggets, right? So that, and you just nailed it, Kyle. I mean, it's what you can bring back
Mm,
to implement or think about because everything that we do from a cyber perspective is risk-based.
mm.
And so taking those golden nuggets back and making a difference in somebody's or an organization's cybersecurity program is what our goal is. It's information. It's being informed on what you need to pay attention to so you can actually sleep at night.
Sleeping at night's a big deal. I'd like to do that, that's for sure. All right, let's see. Is there anything else you want to share about this before I ask you questions about how people can go to this event?
Sure. So one other thing. So we have a morning keynote, we have an afternoon keynote, we have two sets of three cyber panels. What's cool about it as well is that we video it. So the attendees will actually get all the video content. So if they go to panel session A and they really wanted to be in panel session B, they can go back and look at it. They also get what's called CPE credits. So organizations or people that have accreditations, they need to do training. So they'll get those 6 CPE credits. And then we have about 25 of our vendor partners in the cybersecurity space that will be there as a mini trade show. So you'll be able to really glean some good information on new technology and just different ways to protect your organization.
Okay. So that sounds great. So
And a lot of good food too. So
no
there's
food?
breakfast and lunch too.
Nobody, they don't need to bring a bag lunch. You're going to take care of them.
Yes,
No,
sir.
no leftover donuts in the backseat of the car. They don't have to bring that.
No, no.
All right. It's great to hear. I'm excited. So I want to come. I haven't signed up yet. So what do I do? What do I need to do to sign up?
Sure. So it's on May 22nd, like you said. It is at MassBay Community College in Wellesley, Massachusetts. It's right off of Route 9. And it starts at 7:30 in the morning and it goes to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, P.S. There's a whole bunch of amazing prizes at the end of the day as well. So it's a great way to start your Memorial Day weekend
Yeah.
because you get to leave early on Thursday. Uh, so
Okay, are
uh,
you suggesting people would want to leave work early and not do diligently follow their tasks on a Thursday before Memorial Day weekend?
did I say that?
Might have, yeah.
Hmm.
We'll edit that out. No, no, we won't actually.
So the registration, Kyle, if you wouldn't mind just putting the registration link in, then anybody can register and join us.
Okay. What are the costs?
The cost is $60.
Okay.
And again, it's that 6 CPE credits and a lot of amazing information. And just think about that $60 going to scholarships.
No, that's a good way of thinking about it. And then I think about some of the bigger conferences nationally that I've been to, and $60 seems like a pretty reasonable fee for that for sure, for what you're offering. So outstanding. Well, we're excited to see you at the event, and we're excited to see as many of the folks who have watched this and heard about it, and maybe in the C12 world and outside of it, who are interested in cyber and want to get a good handle on it here in Massachusetts, Wellesley, Massachusetts, Mass Bay Community College, Thursday, May 22nd, 7:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's the Towerwall 2025 Cybersecurity Summit. Michelle Drolet, and you have quite a bit of your family that will be at this event as well, right? And they won't
That
just be
is,
cheering for you. They're not just family, they're Towerwall employees, some of them, aren't they?
that is very, very true. Whew. There's a
Excellent.
lot.
You get to meet Michelle in person if you haven't already. You get to meet her husband, maybe some of her kids. It's going to be a Michelle Palooza at the Mass Bay Community College, so we're looking forward to that.
I don't know about that.
All right. So let's go to let's touch base on you. So tell me a little bit about a brief history of you and Towerwall.
Sure. So I have been in the cybersecurity space for just under 30 years, which is crazy to me. It looks a lot different than it did in 1992 or 93,
Nice.
um, when you and I almost knew each other with Checkpoint, right? So it looks a lot different. So again, I've had the honor and pleasure of being the CEO of Towerwall since 1999, where we actually did our first penetration test. So we became a consulting company at that point, and really walk alongside our clients in their cyber journeys because it's not a destination, because it's ever changing, ever present. And you know what? You just need to pay attention because the bad guys are getting badder and badder every day.
Absolutely. So tell me about the transition that you made from being a more of a VAR to being a consultancy.
Sure. So, of our value-added resale, we were selling technology and solving problems. Like, so people needed a firewall, some people needed endpoint security. At that point, there was, spam and email and things like that. So it's like, how do we protect? But what we realized is that technology for technology's sake is not going to solve problems.
Mm.
And so understanding where the vulnerabilities are from a pen test perspective really added a lot of value as well. And then making things programmatic. So when you implemented technology like a vulnerability scanner, you needed to actually what I call progmatize, that's not a real word, but progmatize things and document. So, what technology are you selecting? Who's going to run it? Who's going to install it? How often is it going to get run? Who's going to do remediation? What kind of reports? All of that kind of stuff. So then it again becomes programmatic and measurable and repeatable. And if we can do that with everything, it makes a huge, big difference. So we morphed into a governance, risk, and compliance, or a VCSO consulting organization a little bit later, probably about 20 years ago. Uh, and really, again, walk alongside our clients in helping build the actual programs.
Okay. So two things I'd love to dive into. One is what is a VCSO? What does that acronym mean?
Sure. So, a virtual cyber security information security officer. So CISO is a cybersecurity and then information security officer.
So the reason you need one of those in your organization is because cybersecurity is super important. So what do they do within the company? Because you're essentially taking that role where somebody might not be able to afford that level of strategy and program around their security. So how would you help do that sort of not in their company? What does that look like?
So it's really again, I use that term walk alongside, and you'll hear me say it over and over again because everybody's in a different place in their cyber journey. And so it could be Massachusetts residents or Massachusetts companies that have organizations or employees, more than 25 employees, have to adhere to something called the MACMR 1700, which is a security and privacy regulation from 2010. um, but basically, what that says is that you need to have a person designated, you need to have a documented written information security program plan, you need to have an updated firewall, you need to have endpoint, and it's about Massachusetts residents' information. So you need to encrypt Massachusetts, your employees' information, um, if it's sitting on your servers, so it needs to be encrypted, or if it's in transit, it needs to be encrypted. And you need to do annual user awareness and things like that. So, you need to think about that stuff like that. So a VCSO could actually come in and do a risk assessment. Are you adhering? Are you following? The CMR 1700, and where are the gaps? and then help build out the written information security program, or help develop the user awareness program, or look at the technology in place, maybe even help do a tabletop exercise, or just be that resource to be able to call and say, oh, this happened, or I clicked on this, and oh, should I be doing this, or so on and so forth. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so I guess one of the things that I just want to make sure I heard correctly is you're saying that this applies to all organizations who have Massachusetts-based either clients or employees, their data, and that's 25 employees or more? Wow. I would have to imagine that you run into a lot of business owners and small businesses that are completely unaware of their requirement to meet this from 2010, did you say? Wow.
Yeah, and I mean the biggest thing is that, again, awareness, you said it. But if they had a data breach and they did lose their Massachusetts residents' information, the AG is going to come knocking, and there have been fines up to like $150,000 at certain points.
Wow, that's significant. So I would think that somebody would want to reach out to you just to get their head around that, because I'm sure they could be surprised by that and not in a good way. So
And they could come to the summit and actually learn about, regulatory compliance.
100%, 100%. So tell me a little bit about, I know your husband Larry is in the business. We've known each other for a while now. And so how did that come to be? Did he start off with you right away in the business, or was that did he join last week? What's that look like?
No, so I bought the company back. That's a whole different story. In 1999, he was the CIO of a biotech company, and I actually wrote him an offer letter and put it on his pillow and said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay you. Um, and I don't know, what this journey is going to bring, but would you come join and run the technology group for us? And he accepted, and he has quit several times, and I think I fired him a couple times. And we have been now married almost 38 years, so we have survived.
There you go. So it reminds me of the story about Billy Graham's wife, who once said, she was asked if she had ever considered divorce, because they obviously spent a lot of time together and they were married for a long time. And she said, "No, I never considered divorce. Murder several times, though."
Yeah,
And I'm sure you could
I won't
some
say that out loud.
anyway. And then now you've also got some other family members in the business as well, right?
I do. So 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, actually, my oldest daughter uh, reached out because she was working at a technology company that were moving their sales force down to Texas. And she and her husband said, probably not right now. So she called, and it was the best call I've ever gotten. She said, hey, I think it's time that I join Towerwall. And, that is a discussion we never had, because I never wanted to put any kind of pressure on our children to come here. And so she started out in our sales team. And a couple years later, I promoted her to director of sales. And then about 2 years ago, I promoted her to VP of sales and operations. And she has been truly inspirational, but also just amazing with her operational intelligence, and what she's done for not only our clients, but our internal team. So I'm very, very, very blessed.
That's wonderful. And then tell me about your how you ended up in C12.
Ah, well, I think you called me. So again, Kyle alluded to the effect that we actually have known each other a long time. We have known each other a very long time. And Kyle reached out And I had been looking actually for a CEO forum, and I had been part of a CEO, woman CEO forum, probably about 15 years ago. And just as a CEO or president of an organization, you need to have, those peer discussions because we're all facing very similar things in our business, whether it's people, whether it's technology, whether it's, regulatory, whatever it is. It's like, what do we need to pay attention to? And so, Kyle, you reached out and we had coffee.
Mhm.
And you explained to me what C12 was. And well, I've always been a Christian, and have always run this organization with integrity and, have really instilled that we do only have one reputation. I don't think that I had invited God to be the CEO. And so when you and I were talking, and you looked very different than the person that I knew from a long time ago. And I mean that in an amazing way. Um, and you explained to me that it is, CEOs and presidents of organizations that are Christian, and it's an international organization, and the curriculum and all of the different things was like, it was the absolute right time for me because we're growing and I need to stretch myself and tear the band-aids off and be changed and all of those kinds of things. So I'm very, very grateful that you reached out and that I did take, the step to join C12.
Mm. And what's been the biggest impact so far of being in C12?
Um, I think again, the biggest impact for me is really understanding that God's the CEO of Towerwall.
Mm.
I am not. I'm the steward of this organization for him.
Mm.
And we run and look differently. And some of the curriculum, some of the discussions that we have with our groups are really, really instrumental in helping us make good, informed decisions in the right way.
Okay. As you're thinking about this, you've also received quite a few accolades over the past few years, being a female CEO in the cybersecurity space. Tell us about that. What's been the sort of blessings, the challenges, kind of the high level of being in the role you're at in the industry that you're in.
Well, I can tell you when I started a long time ago, I was usually the only woman in the room.
Mm.
And that has changed dramatically in the past probably 10 years. Still very male dominated,
Mm.
but you know what? I get asked all the time, would you hire a man or a woman? And it's like, I only hire the best person for the position, right? It doesn't matter. I'm not going to hire because of a a man or a woman, right? A gender, so to speak. It's like, who's the best person? Who's smarter than me that can make us be better? And to me, that's really, really important. And yes, because I am one of the token CEOs in cybersecurity, I do get a lot of accolades, and I'm very humbled by it, and honored for sure.
Absolutely. I want to congratulate you on the latest one of the most innovative under or just over 20 years old. I think that was the one that you got recently, right? So
Oh, the
congrats.
50 over 50. Thank you. I'll take that. Forbes 50 over 50. That's pretty cool.
That is definitely pretty cool. So any last thoughts you want to share with us that are important to either folks in the security space, Christians in the marketplace? What are some last thoughts you might have?
Yes, from a cybersecurity perspective, as soon as you open your door or hang out your shingle, so to speak, you need to pay attention
Hmm.
because you are a target. And so you can't wait till you have 25 people or 50 people or 150 people. So that to me is really, really important. As far as our business, we always want to do things and build relationships with integrity and always be humble, and always make sure that we're honoring not only each other in C12, but each other as far as our team members, but then also our clients. And to me, if we can show up differently, that's going to bring more people to him.
Amen, amen, 100%. Um, anything else that you can, or actually, let me reframe this question. One of the things that's kind of wild about living in New England is it's not really necessarily a Christian culture, right? Down south, we make jokes about it, how easy it is to have a conversation about faith. How is it for you as a female Christian leader in the marketplace to share your faith? What does that look like? What have been your struggles? What have been your victories? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I am one that will say if somebody's going through something, it's like, I'm going to put you on my prayer list or I'm going to pray for you. And I have never had somebody say, Michelle, please don't pray for me.
Mhm.
And so to me, that is really important. And again, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's something to be really proud of and to know that, God, Jesus are in my life, in our lives as an organization. And that doesn't mean that we have all Christians in our business. We have a lot of non-Christians that are at Tower Wall. But again, everybody's welcome. And that's what Jesus was welcoming. It doesn't mean that everything you do is the right thing, but everybody's welcome at Tower Wall.
No, I love the way you phrase that. It just reminds me, one of the things we try to do at C12 is encourage people to be more active in their faith, but we also suggest doing it in a smart way. And one of the funny ways we say that is being stupid for Jesus is still being stupid. And so there's a way to share your faith in the marketplace that is usually not offensive and certainly doesn't cross any boundaries in terms of making sure people are feeling like they're safe at your employment, no matter what their faith is. And so I love the way you're living that out and learning to live that out more and more each day. So,
Well, and thank you. And Kyle, I can't say thank you enough, again, for the outreach, 2 years ago, almost,
mhm.
and for your follow through and, for your devotion to C12 being our chair. It makes a big difference, I think, in a lot of people's lives.
Well, thank you for that. That was unexpected, but I appreciate it, Michelle. Thank you so much. Well, Michelle, appreciate your time, giving us a little bit of a debrief on your event coming up in May. Again, that's May 22nd, Thursday, May 22nd. That's going to be from 7:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. That is the Tower Wall 2025 Cybersecurity Summit, also known as the Drolet Family Reunion Tour. Anyway, and that's at MassBay Community College in Wellesley. And anything else, Michelle? We've kind of exhausted a lot of topics, but
Well, thank you for inviting me for this. This was very nice, and I hope that again a couple golden nuggets people got from a cyber perspective because the bad guys are bad.
the bad guys are bad. That's the quote of the day right there. Hey, everybody, the bad guys are bad. And I love the other one, the nugget you dropped, which is if you're just opening up your shop, it doesn't matter. If you have a presence on the internet, they are after you. So don't pretend that you have to be a certain size to be a target. You don't. So, all right, this is so good. Thank you so much. And I'm going to stop our recording
Peace out.
right now. Peace out.